Hey guys, welcome back to the build for the back of the Pajero. I wasn't able to complete the build last time around because I ran out of ply. I wasn't able to do the slide out shelves in the drawer that I want to do. I've purchased some more ply. I've also purchased some aluminium angle to run the slide out shelf on. So fingers crossed I'll get that done today. I don't have enough carpet to do exactly how I planned, but I might be able to make a few exceptions and change things up a little bit and do that instead. I do have a heap of liner, which I originally intended to lay down on the floor, but I decided against that at the last minute, so who knows, I may end up redoing this timber section here, the hatch, in lino. I may end up doing it in carpet. I'll just see how I go. Either way, I've got enough to do the face of the drawer, just not the floor of it, if I do decide to do that with the carpet. Received an email yesterday saying the fridge is on its way, so that should be here by the end of the week. Today's Wednesday. Fridge should hopefully be here by Friday, and that's simply going to plug in because I've got the 12 volt. Because I've got the 12 volt plug at the back with the fan, that'll get some airflow, and that's where the fridge plugs in. So the fridge will be going there, drawer on this side, both with the table at the top, just to slide out and give me that little bit of extra support when I'm using this table, and a slide out to here, which is just enough room to sit another little single gas cooker or something on. So I'm also thinking I may rebuild this shelf, just simply make it out of ply and do the same with that as what I'm going to do with these. I'm just going to sand them back, make them nice and smooth, and then hit them with some clear marine grade lacquer just to protect them against water damage and whatnot, and give them a bit of a shine and a bit of a nicer look. I do have a chopping board, so I don't intend necessarily to be cutting directly on them. So that's today's plan, is get these two shelves done in the drawer. I'll probably finish off this section, cut the hatches into it, and work out how I'm going to cover it, whether it be lino or carpet. I was hoping to do grey carpet similar to what's already in here, but I had a look and I didn't have enough. I do have enough black at the moment to be able to cover that, but I don't know if I'll have enough to do that in the drawer. So that will be a decision made later. And again, maybe I'll rebuild this shop today as well. Even though it looks nice with the black, where the black would normally be, it sort of blends in. I'd like to have something that's not particle board or MDF. Maybe spider. Yeah, I'd like to have something that's not particle board or MDF sitting there. Something that's not quite so heavy on the back of the door, and better when it comes to spillages and water ingress and that. So that's the plan for today. Better get to it. Okay, so I've got the two shelves ready for the back. As you can see, they're not massively tight. I've used 25 by 25 mil, 1.6 mil thick angle, and I have countersunk. This is a slide off cut. You can see I've countersunk the holes so that the screws are out of the way. They slide in quite nice and easy. They are a little bit rough, but I'm not too fussed about that. The little bit of movement when they're inside shouldn't be too much of an issue, but if you are worried about that, you can always buy some furniture padding or something and put it just along the edges there, just to give it a little bit of firmness, make it a little bit smoother and keep it a little bit tighter. As for these, I'm quite happy with that. That's more than enough length for what I'm going to need. As I said, it will only be used to hold a cooker or something like that, so they slide quite nice along the edges of that. Sand them corners off. I will be sanding the edges of this, and I will be painting clear lacquer on both of these, so they're in place. Quite happy with that. Okay, so I've just taken the shelves back out. They've had a test fit, they fit nicely. I've taken them back out and I've just run the angle grinder with a flat disc or sanding disc around the edges to just smooth out all the corners and the edges of it. So that should make it slide a little bit nicer. What I'm about to do now is I need to put a small handle in the middle of each of them. So what I'm going to do is go with the 25mm spade bit. I'll drill a hole on each end, and then I'll just run through with the jigsaw and cut the middle out. So that should give me a nice centered hole. First of all, grab the tape measure and a pencil, work out what my center is. So we're at 40, say 43 there. It's not going to be dead exact. So 43, half of that is 21.5. So there's dead center. Now obviously, being that I'm coming in at the full 10cm gap and I'm coming in dead center under that mark, it will be just a little bit wider, but that's not a bad thing. And with a jigsaw, and as you can see, you've got a nice little handle. Hit that again with the angle grinder and just smooth out the edges. That's sweet. Okay, so there's a quick coat of lacquer on them. I will admit the spray gun was a bit of a pain in the ass. I'm not all the best with them, so I've ended up just going with a cheapo roller. Won't give me the really high gloss finish that I want, but it will still protect the timber quite nicely. Alright, so with the shells being lacquered and waiting for them to dry, I'm now starting on the drawers. So I'll cut the base out here, and with this I'll work out the length of the sides. I want the front of the drawers to cover the entire side of this, so this will be sitting behind. So will the sides, so they'll be the same length as this, and then the backing will sit in between the two of them. Mark out the two sizes of this. Oh, fuck. Basically just line that up. That's the length I need. It's going to be a straight line. Or it actually did a line. And that will give me the correct length for the two sides. Now before I go trying to put all this together, I've had a look at the offcuts of carpet I've got in the garage, and this offcut here looks like it'll actually do what I want it to do. So cover the floor and should be able to cover the front with it. So what I'm going to do is just do a rough cut, a little bit oversized. I'm not going to wrap it and everything like I have with the other stuff, as it is just a rough cut, and it's the floor of the drawers. So instead of wrapping it, what I'm going to do is line it up with the corners in two sections at least, or close to. Get it lined up in there, throw a few staples down just around the edges to hold it down, and then when I put the sides front and back on, that will help pin it all together. Okay, so the drawer's in, completed. At the moment it's just a box, I haven't sanded the edges or anything. It's just a standard ply box. Goes in pretty well, sits in nice and neat. I need to get some little furniture sliders that are about 10mm thick, and then that will lift this up just a little bit higher, and it will help it slide a little bit easier with weight on the carpet. And this will hold plenty for me. There's plenty of length to come out. Mind you, the shelf won't hold it, but it comes out there, which is more than enough. I would like it to sit there, but with this style of handle, that's not going to happen, because as the shelf on the back door closes, it does push up against it. So it'll sit around about there. Sadly, the fridge hasn't arrived today, but I wasn't expecting it to here today anyway. Now I'm going to take this piece out. I'm going to have to rip the whole thing out again. Take this piece out, and I'm going to work out how I'm making the hatches on there. So before I do that, I'll grab the pencil and I'll mark where my lines are, where my legs sit, so I know I'm not cutting things too wide. Okay, so what I've got here currently, I've marked out the lines for where the shelves sit. It goes in that way. So the fridge is going to sit here, the drawer sits here, and then the legs of the shelves sit here, here, and right on the edge here. That's 9mm ply, which obviously it's not too bad, but it doesn't have a lot of strength. So what I'm going to do is rebuild this particular section out of 9mm, out of 12mm. Then I'm going to trim the 9mm down to fit just inside the third row seat well. So the 9mm, more than anything, will act as a lip to sit the hatches on. So the hatch, everything will be 2 layers, and there'll be probably about an inch overhang on the inside of the hatch for the hatch to actually sit down and not sort of move around and not drop through. First thing I've got to do then is measure out trace this pretty much onto the 12mm, and then cut that 12mm out. Ready. Okay, so now I've got 2 pieces here that are almost exactly the same. I've test fitted the 12mm piece in, and I've just trimmed a little bit off the edge of it to allow for the carpet and such to roll around. And otherwise fits in absolutely beautifully. The 9mm, which is the top piece here at the moment, that will again go onto the bottom section underneath it, so that will just give that little bit of extra strength when I'm putting the hatches in. So fun part I have now is working out exactly where they're going to sit. Being that this is a smaller piece, I need to work out what the measurements are on the inside of the third row seat well, so that I can cut the sides down and things like that to make sure that it's going to fit completely inside. Okay, so what I've worked out here is a couple of straight lines, one on each end, one front, one back, to make this basically a rectangle piece. So the line here, here, and here. And that should make it fit nice and neat inside that third row seat well, and there is a little bit of a lip on either side that will still sit on top of. So that will still help it to stay nice and neat and snug. Once they're in, then I can position this, and I'll work out where the hatches are going to sit exactly using this one first, and then I'll come out probably an inch wider on that one. Okay, so that's trimmed down and in place. What I've done to actually make sure that it's sitting back where it was originally, I've taken the offcuts and I've used the lines marked out already on the offcuts and on the original, and I've sort of lined it back up so that the part that's sitting on the inside should sit again pretty much dead with where it would be on the 12mm piece. So I'll take those off now, and I'll scrap. I will mark the edges of this just so I do remember where they're going, in case I need to take it off. In case it needs to come off and go back on that later. So, quick markings. At least that will help me to line things up where they're supposed to be. That'll help me to line things back up where it's meant to be at least. Okay, so now I'm going to measure out where roughly I want the hatches. I should be able to get 2 pretty good size hatches here. Now remember, the 9mm that's on top here is going to be the smaller one, and then the 12mm will be a little bit thicker, a little bit larger of a hole. I'll drill a single round hole through each so I can put my finger in and lift them out as I need to. Okay, so as we can see here, I've got 2 hatches. One will be driver's side, one will be passengers. From memory, that'll be the passenger side, that'll be the driver's. So this is where the fridge will sit. This is where the drawer will sit. I've made these 7.5 centimeters either side of the centerpiece, so that when I do cut it into the 12 mil, I can just come out a simple inch and make it 5 centimeters from the center, 5 centimeters from this flush edge. Mind you, it's going to be different measurement there, but either way it'll be an inch around, so that'll work out nicely for me. And there's still a decent size hatch to get in and out of. Okay, now to work out the sizes for the 12 mil hatches. I've laid the original piece back down. This circular saw makes a mess of this bloody wood. I've laid the original pieces down and I've set the two offcuts that I've got in the centre there. All I need to do now is gently lift that away. Grab the aluminium angle that I've been using for my straight lines. This side here is 25 mil, so 1 inch. All I need to do now is lay that around the edges and draw my lines. And now, as can be seen, we've got 1 inch gap all the way around these two. I could now screw these two pieces together and that would be a permanent fitting, but as I am going to carpet them, I'm carpeting the 12 mil side, not the 9 mil. So as I'm going to carpet the 9 mil, the 12 mil, if I can get things out, I will leave this for the moment, and then when I screw them together, I'll actually use the screws to help hold the carpet in place. So for now, they can stay where they are. I'll trim a little bit extra off the hatches on these ones, just so that I can get that carpet overlay in, the folds of the carpet in. I'll carpet the other side of this piece, and then I can run the carpet through both sides, and I can carpet. I can pin the carpet down underneath these pieces of hatch, and I can do the same thing with the other one and pin it down under there as well. Okay, so what I've done here now is I've thrown a few screws in, simply to hold the pieces that I need together, but what I can do to run the carpet and everything in them, I can remove these couple of screws, I can position the carpet, and then these screws should be in far enough that I can still use them as like a guide. I can just back them off a little bit out of this one, and then I can make sure they line up properly when I go to put it back together with the carpet around the 12 mil piece. That will allow me to make sure that this 9 mil piece is back in the position that it needs to be. Same deal again here with the 12 and the 9 mil piece. Well, that one's a little bit out of whack. That actually came into the wrong spot. But the idea will be that they'll sit in like so. Obviously the whole thing will be carpeted, nice, neat, tidy, and then that will go into the third row seat well. It's 4 o'clock now. I might be able to get this knocked over before I pack up for dinner. Okay, so the hatches are done. I did forget originally to cut a hole in them, so that one there I actually carpeted and then realised I didn't cut a hole in there. They are quite tight, which is good. They come out nice and easy. And with a solid whack, they go back in. Relatively, that one's a bit tighter. As you can see, I've got my compressor, toolkit, and a little little reflective triangle in there. Again, nice and tight in place. This side at the moment is just my battery jack, and of course I've still got the iron, or the bar to use the jack in there. So now, give them all a clean up, a vacuum, put the drawer in, put the shelves in, put everything in, and I'm done. Okay, so we're all done. It's all back in, clean, tidy, vacuumed, so it looks good again. It's starting to get a little bit dark out here at the moment, but drawers in, nice and neat. I do need to get the sliders for it. At the moment it hits the plastic clips where the third row seats and that clip down, so I need to get the sliders for it. I know you can't see a lot in this, but yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm very happy with it. Now I'll start putting some stuff back in my drawer. Alrighty, so that's it done for today. I've done the drawer. I've done the hatch section for the third row seat well. As you can see, I haven't done this. I do have a piece of nice ply there. Looks pretty good on both sides, doesn't have a lot of knots and crap in it. I've got that sitting in the garage, but I've actually come to a thought. I've got family that do Aboriginal artwork, so I'm looking at it at the moment. I don't know if I will or not, but I'm looking at getting a mural done on here, or an Aboriginal print to represent walkabout, or just basically represent the outdoors and our natural wildlife and things like that. So I'll have some more discussions about that with the family members and see what we can get worked out. And who knows, there might be a beautiful piece of Aboriginal art on here soon. It will be on the fly though, not this crappy particle board. So we'll just see what happens there, eh? Anyway, so that's it for me tonight. As I said, everything's done. The slide out shelves that I've made are still a bit tacky, so I don't want to put them back in yet. But everything else is back in where it's meant to be. Everything else is neat, tidy, clean. Now I can start filling the drawer back up and go inside and relax.